Okay, Danielle, it is 10:30. If you want to go ahead and kick off the class, you can do so.
All right, thank you so much. Welcome to the CRS Data MLS Tax Suite, creating a CMA your way and prospecting. It's just that easy with the MLS Tax Suite. My name is Danielle Longdew, and I work directly for CRS Data. Nicole Morgan, due to circumstances outside of her control, has requested that I step in and teach you all of the tools and features that are available to you through our CMAs and prospecting. I do want to note a couple of things that we have uh, enhanced your experience with the MLS Tax Suite. One, we've expanded your counties. Two, we've added what's called fiber homes. So if you're working with a remote buyer who works from home, you now have this section on the property report that will give you an indication of the internet speeds. We've also switched over to Google Maps. We were on Bing, but as of October 28th, we have switched over to Google Maps, and you will experience crisper and clearer photos, more frequent updates, and just a better overall experience. So those are some of the things that we have been pushing for, and you will see those enhancements as we go through today's webinar. Again, today's webinar is being recorded. Um, Also, everyone is muted. Thank you so much. This will just limit any background noise that might come through. With that being said, we do have the Zoom chat. So if you do have a question, feel free to enter your question into the chat. If I don't stop to answer your question, please rest assured I will answer your question at the conclusion of today's webinar. With all that being said, let's go ahead and jump right on in to today's webinar. We are going to start from your dashboard. We are integrated with your dashboard and Paragon. And you will always either go through your dashboard or Paragon due to that integration point. Now, when we start to look at the two systems, they're fantastic. Paragon's a fantastic MLS system, and then we have the MLS Tax Suite. But there's a very distinct difference between the two. One, Paragon is where you go in and you look for properties that are currently listed, maybe expired, and so forth. And that's fantastic. What the MLS Tax Suite brings you is the county tax records. Yes, we do use multiple sources. We even use FEMA, Topo, and a variety of different other sources to bring you a one-stop shop, especially when it comes to your comparables. So what are we going to learn today? We're going to look at two tools that you have when it comes to creating a comparative market analysis through the MLS Tax Suite. And you might wonder, well, what's the difference? Well, just keep in mind, we are looking at the county. And then we have this ability to identify the properties that have been listed and sold through Paragon because of the integration. So you might find a property that might not have been sold through your MLS within that sales period, which we're defaulted to the last 12 months. When we start to talk about prospecting, there's multiple different ways to prospect. Maybe you just listed and sold a property and you want to generate that list and send out your mailer. We can do that from a property report. Or maybe you are looking at some zip codes or school zones, and we'll walk you through those tools. And we will conclude with looking at what does the create labels option look like and what is the output, along with the export and how to save it in terms of what software you have on your device. So from your dashboard, maybe the property's never been listed or sold in your MLS, and you want to utilize the tax records to get a 360 view of the CMA. Well, we've got an icon here for CRS data, and this will drop you at our simple search page. However, let's go into Paragon. From Paragon, there are very specific links from a listing that'll take you into our newer version of the CMA called CMA and Client Report. To access or view that link, we need to go over to the Market Monitor. Within that Market Monitor, as you know, are your statuses. I can go into any one of these statuses to locate what they call as the plug. And this is where we're going to start with new. Now, as the new results list appears, I'm going to locate the plug. Now, the plug is very specific. It is specific to that address of the listing. So if we look, I can go ahead and look at 103 Cherry Ave. And what happens is we take that address and we will locate it in the public tax records, and we'll be able to view the CMAs and what defaults we utilize to pull those comparables. We just simply tap on the plug and you'll see a box appear. 4 icons directly in to the public tax record suite, as we could call it, or the MLS tax suite. We go directly to the CMAs and view data associated with each CMA. We can look at a map view where we look at a map and where they're located in reference to your subject property. We go into a list view where it's more statistical and we show you different columns of data that you can select. Along with the comparables link, we can look at the demographics. It's a great report to send. Maybe we want to look at a map first. We can turn on our recent sales to see if there are any properties that have recently sold within a specified time frame, all the way up to 60 months, starting with 3 months. Or maybe we want to just take a look at the narrative of the property, where we look at the sales history, the mortgage history. Has the property ever been in foreclosure? Directly to the property report. So again, a variety of different links for that address. Now at the top of the page, we do have icons. One of those icons is tax. If you tap on the tax icon and go over to tax integration, CRS data tax search, and we are opening up the MLS tax suite. Now here's a tip. When you generate that CMA through our CMA and client report, you're going to want to make sure your branding is in our system, because the branding will autofill on that report. If you don't have your branding in our system, no worries. Just go up to settings, open it up, and the very first option is settings, or excuse me, is branding. Under settings is branding. You can upload a photo, headshot, business card, so forth. Then to the right, you can enter your name, company name, phone number, email address, and then personal notes. Now, not only will this autofill onto the client report for CMA once you've tapped save, anytime you email, save, print, copy a property report, map, client ready report, your branding will be in the upper left-hand corner as well. So many benefits to adding your contact information. All right, let's go back to previous. In order to create a CMA, you must be on a property report. So we're going to scroll down. And for today, we're going to use 1365 Amber Ridge Road property. So I'm going to tap on the address, and we are on to the property report itself. Now, prior to generating that CMA and utilizing either Quick or the newer tool, we're going to scroll down to property characteristics, as there is a feature you might want to utilize. As we go into property characteristics, you see bedrooms, baths, and total building square feet are in blue. This provides you an opportunity to adjust the property characteristics. So if we know that this property actually has 5 bedrooms, we tap in the bedrooms option. We take the 4 out, and I can add a 5. Now, in order to maintain that 5 bedrooms, you must hit enter or tab. And as soon as you do, there will be a disclaimer. It'll tell you exactly which property characteristics you updated. And then there's a note section, which I do recommend entering your reason for updating that particular number. And this is kind of how it works. There's no impact. It does not change it at the county, does not change it in the MLS, and it does not change it for anybody else but you. So now you can run a great CMA off of the correct number of bedrooms and baths. And at any time, you can revert back. Now let's go scroll up. Now let's take a look at the tools. So as we look at our CMAs, quick for CMA and client report, we're going to start with the quick CMA. Now our quick CMA, we do have defaults built in, but we'll get to that. The very top of the CMA report, email, save as a PDF or print, view MLS information. This will take you back into Paragon. We've got the address, the average cost per square foot, along with the number of comparables pulled. And at this time, it is 19 based off of our search parameters. To the immediate right, I'm going to highlight our three calculations. Estimated market price based on average cost per square foot, house price index, average sales price divided by tax assessment ratio. Now, you might have questions about these calculations, or your client might have questions, or a colleague. Great news is, if you scroll down to market value calculation option, open it up, here are your explanation, equation, calculation. So we do provide those answers for you and your clients when you are viewing our values. And as a resource tool, we've provided Zestimate. One thing you'll notice is next to each calculation is an X. Maybe we don't want to see Zestimate. Just tap on the X. It's grayed out. When you go to print, email, save, or copy, looks like nothing is there. Moving on to the home improvement adjustment. So you might be asked about the value of an improvement. Well, this tool will help you answer that question. This tool allows you to add up to 3 improvements. The values are generated by Zonda. Tap on costversusvalue.com for more information. So let's go ahead and just add an improvement to see how it works. So we're going to look at room improved. We're going to go down to wood deck. We're going to find out how much they spent. So 12,500, and then the improvement quality. And we can go ahead and tap submit. And what happens is Zonda will provide you with an 83% or percentage, and then a dollar amount, $10,375 is the value of that deck. If we look back up at our calculations, we now have a 4th calculation that's been generated called home improvement value, which includes the $10,375. Now, with this particular option, the data is based regionally. So you're not comparing things across country. It is based regionally. All right, let's continue down. You will see your MLS listing photos with a carousel below. We do plot your properties for you to show you exactly where your comparables are located. Well, the map works just like any other map. We can hover over to get that snapshot of sales data. And within that option, we can also take a look if it's ever been listed or sold by just using the scroll bar and moving on. It's also a great way to refine. We do have our toolbar where we can zoom in, zoom out, directional. You can switch this over to aerial, a better view. Recentering button. We do have our magnifying glass, which is a drawing tool, so we can draw a shape around the comparables we want to keep. And then we have our measuring tool. And with Google Maps, we do have that little individual in the bottom right-hand corner where we can take a ride through all of this area to view your comparables from the outside. We do have visuals when it comes to sales price of comps and cost per square foot of comps. Light blue is going to be your subject property. Concrete blue is going to be your comparables. Now, the great thing about this is we can hover over those bar graphs and we'll get the actual amount. Scrolling down, you have your search parameters. How did we pull those 19 comparables? Well, it starts with your search parameter defaults. Property type, we bring in your subject properties type, and this just happens to be residential. Number of bedrooms and baths, plus or minus one. Acreage and square feet, plus or minus one, or plus or minus 20% of your subject property. Within distance, 0.75. Sales within the last 12 months. Now, again, we can adjust these accordingly. And then tap Submit. Let's take a look at your list. So we're going to provide you with your subject property followed by your comparables. But you will see these columns of data appear. These columns can be selected by you. We're just going to simply scroll up, go into settings, and we're going to go into comparable results list. You have an opportunity to determine what data sets we show when it comes to your comparables. And you can select up to 14. Don't have to have 14, but you can select up to 14. But I know you have all this extra data, so please make sure you go in and set your defaults, knowing at any time you can adjust your defaults. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, always make sure you tap Save prior to returning to your quick CMA. And you also have that option to reset to default. All right, let's go up and return back to previous. Now, as we look at the list and we begin to scroll, and we're going to go all the way down to the bottom. We see number 14 and 15. They're missing the MLS listing icon. These two properties indicate they were sold outside your MLS in the last 12 months because they are missing the red icon. As number 13 does have the icon, as a side note, don't forget to hover over to get that snapshot of sales data. Now, one thing about this list is if you have a touch screen, you can swipe your finger right to left or left to right to see the rest of the data. I'm currently using an external monitor, so I need to use the scroll bar. No worries. We have sorted your list by last sales date. You'll notice that because there's an arrow pointing down. But again, you can sort by any one of these columns. You can sort by last sales price, by left tapping on the column header, and it resorts your list, highest to the lowest, or lowest to the highest. Down at the bottom, you're going to notice we have an option to remove checked. Just tap in the box in front of the comparable you'd like to remove and tap Remove Checked. What you're going to see automatically is an option to restore removed comparables. So you have this option to restore anything that you remove, any comparable, and now we've just brought it back. Maybe you only want to keep 4 of these comparables. Check the 4, go down to the bottom, and keep checked. We'll get rid of the rest for you. Again, we can email, save as PDF, or even print. And we can also view MLS info. And that is your quick CMA. Let's transition over to the CMA and client report. The defaults are the same when it comes to the two tools, and your calculations are the same, so nothing has changed there. But we do have 3 different views. We have a column view, which you see here, a map view, and a list view. So we've added additional options for you when it comes to this interface. Now, where are you going to find your comparables? Just above your subject property that is identified by the banner, you have your comparables. So we have 19 comparables. Just above your subject property, you're going to see search filters. These are basically your search parameters, but we've built them out. So location, we can enter the street name, city. We can add multiple subdivisions here. They're back to back. Zip codes. You have an option to add additional properties. You guys are the experts. So if you know that there's a property that would make a great comparable, just start typing in the address. You will have a drop-down menu. Select it, and we'll add it to your list. You can add up to 3 currently. Value. This is where you'll see your first default, and that's going to be under date of last sale. We start you out at 12 months, but again, you might be able to go down to 3, or if you're in a really rural area, you might not have to go all the way to 36. Or if you prefer, please make sure you use our calendars. 2 arrows or the double arrows will change the year, and the single arrow will change the month. You've got your last sales price range and total tax appraisal. Characteristics. Again, we're going to pull in your property type, which is residential for your subject. We've got total building square feet. You're going to notice we've added an addition here. We've got plus or minus 20% of the subject, and then you can adjust it to your preference. Or if you're someone that prefers the range, please enter a range. It overrides the percentage. When it comes to bedrooms and baths, this is just another way to display plus or minus 1. So we have 3, 4, and 5 when it comes to bedrooms. This particular property has 4 bedrooms, but I can remove properties with 3. As I tap, it goes from blue to gray, and the same with 5, blue to gray. So I've now excluded properties with 3 bedrooms and 5 bedrooms. And I can also bring them back by simply tapping on the 3 and the 5. That same concept can be applied to bathrooms. Acreage works just like your building square feet. We can utilize the percentage or range. And remember, the range will override the percentage. And then you've got some other options to enter. We can look at your MLS data. We want to look at all properties sold in the MLS. Tap the sold. We already know there's 2 properties that sold outside your MLS. You can even use your list price range provided by Paragon in our system to generate that list of CMAs. Our distance tool, a feature that is unknown, is if you take this scroll bar, take the circle and push it all the way to the left, you've just now turned off the distance, and we are searching the county. Or we can actually turn this up to 1. Now we have 24. Create report, which we will do. And then you have your view types. We're currently on the column view. We've got a map view and a list view. And yes, we're going to go through each view and talk about the features and tools. Left-hand side, we've got our calculations. These are the same calculations we just walked through with our quick CMA. But there's an added feature here, add suggested property value. So you can go ahead and type in a number here. And then down at the very, very bottom of the list, learn more about these values. Here is your reference sheet for your calculations. And this is also included in the client report. All right, let's take a look at your subject property. We are pulling in that very first photo. We know it's currently active in your MLS. Got the address, and then 3 vertical dots. Tap on those 3 vertical dots. We've got your property report. Property value adjustment is the same tool as your home improvement tool in Quick CMA. And if there is no MLS listing photos, you might just see a map. but you can upload a photo. Then below, you will see data set. Moving on to your first comparable to the right. We know it was sold through the MLS. Address, 3 vertical dots, property report, or we can simply remove it. Below, you'll see the same data set, but you'll see arrows. And arrows is a quick way to determine, is it higher or lower than your subject property? Red means lower, green means higher, nothing means equal. We can use the arrows at the bottom to scroll through your comparables. Let's go ahead and move on to your map view. One thing you'll notice is at the top, your search filters will follow you. So we have your location all the way to MLS data to your distance tool. Your map is the visual representation of where your CMAs are in reference to your subject. Subject properties, concrete blue, and then the green last sales price is your comparables. And as you see, we can hover over. If it's listed in the MLS or closed in the MLS, we can go ahead and look at that data. To the right, you'll have our toolbar where we can look at polygon, rectangle, radius, or freehand. So we can draw a shape around the comparables we want to keep. So 2 references in order to refine in this situation. 1 is using the map, 2 is using the filters, 3 is scrolling down. You're going to locate your subject property with a summary of property characteristics below the address, last sales price, 3 vertical dots. So you still have those tools, property report, property value adjustment, or even upload a photo. As we look at your comparable results list, 2 different manners to remove comparables. There are check boxes in front of each address. You check. If you look to the far right, the map's going to zoom in to where that property is located on the map. But then just above your comparables is the option to remove or keep. So if I remove, map will zoom out. But we also have an option to restore that comparable. So I can tap, and we just brought it back. We know it was sold through the MLS because of the tag, the last sales price, and then those 3 vertical dots. Tap, property report, or we can remove. So we've got the 3 vertical dots, the checkbox in front of each address, your filters, and then we can draw shapes on the map to refine. Moving on to our list view, and this is our final. Now you don't have to use all the views. You might want to just find one that suits your needs. We've got your filters, your map, and then down at the bottom, you will see your list view. Again, if you go to settings, you can set these columns. Go under custom or comparable results list. One thing here is when it comes to your square feet, we'll give you the actually percentage that it's lower or higher. Maybe that will help determine to keep it or not. We can left tap and drag and drop the columns around, and we can sort by any one of these column headers. When it comes to your subject property, you've got those 2 vertical dots, 3 vertical dots, property report, property value. Your comparables still have that checkbox in front. Your map will zoom in, and we've got this option to remove or keep. So what happens when you are ready to create that report? We're going to go up to Create Report, which is located next to your distance tool, tab. What you're going to see here is any prior CMA reports you've created. The one you just created will be the very first one. We can personalize it. Add the client's name. Maybe you want to edit the report. As we pull up the report, left-hand side, section headers. Center will be the report itself. Now we do give you those options to edit. You can edit the name of the report. We could even edit the suggested property value. As I said, if you have your branding in the system, it autofills where you see the circle. Now, if you do have your branding and it didn't autofill, just reset branding and you'll be all set. So what kind of section headers do we have? We've got your subject property, comparable values, historical data, and so forth. Two features here. One, if you want to remove a page, just tap on the X next to the section header. You want to bring it back, just tap on the plus sign. You have an option to reorganize the report. There's an up and down arrow that appears once you've highlighted the section. And you can move it up and down. If you make any changes, you do have a saved report option. All right, let's go and return to our comparables. How do we view the report? You have three options. You have three ways to view it. One is by tapping on the play button. And this one will be your most interactive. What do I mean? As I tap on the arrows, when you get to a map, we can hover over to get that snapshot of sales. When you see the scroll bar, we still have that option to scroll back and forth. Now let's go ahead and go back to our comparables. Maybe you need to email a link. Simply tap on email. Maybe you need to download. You can download it. It does come with an expiration. Reports are expired and removed when they haven't been modified in the last 6 months. So if you need to keep it longer than 6 months, just open up the report, toggle around, and it resets that expiration. Now there is a lot to this particular tool and features. In the upper right hand corner, we have a help section. If you tap on it, it opens up our help section, and it's specific to comparables. So we do have videos that will walk you through all of those tools and features. We've even gone through commercial properties, vacant land, and residential properties. So you do have help built in. All right, run it X out. We are going to return back to that property report. Now, once we open up the property report, we're going to slide right into lead generation. Maybe you were successful and you sold this property by utilizing your great CMA. There are two ways. At the very top, you have prospecting. I'm going to quickly show you what it looks like. So I'm going to tap on prospecting, and it does open up our prospecting page. You will see an upside down teardrop, and this is the indication of your subject property. To the left, you've got your county box. Below that, you've got a search box where you can search by owner, address, subdivision, or even listing agent. You can save your criteria, and your saved criteria is located to the left. And then we have your filters. We can draw shapes on the map. We do have our map toolbar. We've got a drawing option. We can undo a shape. We can center your map. We've got your map types, road and satellite. We can zoom in and zoom out. Just depends. To the far right, you're going to notice that there's nothing there because we haven't actually generated a list yet. So we can begin to draw shapes. And yes, you can draw multiple shapes from here. But I do want to present you with another option to prospect from the property report. When we return back to the property report, we're going to locate the View Larger Map option and open it up. Now, before I start to draw shapes, I do want to say, bottom right-hand corner, you do have a little person. You tap on that little person, this will be your street side. Now, let's go ahead and prospect from this map. So we know where your subject property is. Maybe you just listed or sold this property. Maybe this is a client's parents' house and they need to live within a certain mileage, so forth. Well, what we're going to do is find that magnifying glass. where we can draw a polygon or a rectangle radius in freehand. So I'm going to go ahead and select the polygon. I'm going to tap in one of the properties. So on the far left-hand side, I've tapped in a property. You'll see a green circle and then a blue line. Now, if I left tap, it closes that shape or it closes that line. And I can continue to draw. Now, as I'm drawing, you see that I'm not being very careful, and that's okay. Because I know even if my line barely touches a property, it'll include it. Now, if I'm ready to close my shape, I return back to the green circle and left tap. As soon as I do, I get this include delete option. I'm going to go ahead and include the selection. So currently I have 726 properties. We can go to a results list, or let's go to prospecting. So this will be a little different for the sole fact that on the far right-hand side, now we have properties found with options to create labels or export. So we can hover over the individual blue markers, get that snapshot of sales data. But a couple of things. We are going to use some of our filters to refine our list. We're going to scroll down to the MLS listing filter on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, this is an include or exclude. Anything from active to lease listing expired will be included. The very last option will remove all active listings. So you're not prospecting to someone else's business, and we'll go ahead and update. So we just removed 6. We can look at owner type, ownership duration, tax appraised value. Maybe we want to make sure these are all residential properties. Now we're down to 692. Recent sales here is slightly different. This is actually a way to remove properties. Maybe we don't want to prospect to anybody that has had a recent sale within the past 18 months. Take the circle, go all the way to the right, and we've just removed additional properties. And if we're okay with this, and we're ready to create labels or export, let's go ahead and take a venture over to the right-hand side. One thing to note, you do have 5,000 exports per month. We can keep or remove properties listed below. We are on page 1 of 16. I can tap on the plus or greater, plus or the greater than less than sign. We can always hover over to get that snapshot. So let's go ahead and export, see what our options are. You'll see a box up here. So we've got edit fields, export, remove exact duplicates. We've got name, owner's address, property's address. But as you see, I'm hovering over. We can sort our list. So I just left tap, and now I'm sorted by owner's last name from A to Z. Numbers come first. But maybe you want to select the columns that are exported. Just tap on Edit Fields. We have already selected some columns of data, and we can go ahead and export. But in the bottom left-hand corner, you can select all. Let's go ahead and export, which is located in the bottom right-hand corner, to show you what it looks like. We're going to open it up. It does export into a CSV file, which can be saved as an Excel file, numbers, and so forth. We can go ahead and save it to whatever file type. I have Excel, so I would save it as an Excel, but this is what it looks like. All right, let's go ahead and X out. And what does create labels look like? So I'm going to tap on create labels. We have some defaults. No worries, you could uncheck them, but we're going to skip records with no zip +4. We're going to remove exact duplicates. Zip code and address or owner's names we can sort by. Addressees displayed as, maybe first name first, last name first. Address use, owner's name, property's address. So if you're going after the renters, property's address would be more appropriate. We can uncheck some of our options. If you are going after renters, we do have a place where it says replace name with custom text. Do some marketing, Avery label types, click the starting label for your print, and your document format, whether you want Word or if you want PDF, create labels. So I've created those labels. We started on the label I had selected, and then sheet number 2 starts on label 1. All right, let's go ahead and accept. So that is actually prospecting with the center. We're going to return back to our map, and we're going to delete our shape. So with each shape that has been drawn, you're either going to see acreage or square miles. What you're going to do is you're going to tap on the acreage or square miles of this shape. You get your polygon search box and simply delete. All right, we're going to return back to the simple search. Now we're going to look at prospecting wide net. So we're going to open it up, and you'll see nothing come across, which is perfectly fine. So let's go ahead and start with school zones. We're going to run a search for school zones. We're going to do middle. What you're going to see is the map's going to actually light up with the layers. Left-hand side will show you the names of the schools. But also, if you hover over the layers, we'll show you also the name of the school. And I can go ahead and select it from the map. And you can select multiples. Now, if you do select them from the map, on the left-hand side, we're also selecting them in the list. You just have to simply update. And maybe for this list, we want to just look at properties that are currently listed. So I'm going to open up our MLS listings option and select active. And then update. And there's 161. And we can go ahead, maybe create labels, or we can export, which we've just seen the outputs for. Now, if I wanted to save this search, just above your filters, we can tap on Save Search Criteria. Name it whatever you'd like. Tap Submit, and you would find that to the left. So a year from now, you would actually go ahead and go under Save Search, tap on it, and we would have all new updated data for you. Or maybe you want to search by subdivision. So we can go ahead and look at Lake Forest. As you are typing, you'll see a drop-down menu appear. You've got owner's name, street address, followed by subdivision. We can start with or contains. So go ahead and starts with. Okay, that's no problem. Or actually, let's go forest. Now, as we go down, one thing to note here is we can select multiples. And then we can go ahead and save criteria. So just a variety of different things that we can do. Just note you can add multiples here. One last option, and that's going to be boundaries. We're going to turn on zip codes. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom out. Now for zip codes, it's going to act very similar to your school zones, where we can go ahead and select zip codes from different sections, or we can use the left-hand side. So if I wanted to do it from the left-hand side, I can go ahead and just select them. Now they'll highlight them on the map themselves, so it works both ways. And we can go ahead and update. We can look at owner type. Maybe we're going after those absentee owners and update. Scrolling down, we're looking for residential property. Recent sales. We can exclude those from our list. When it comes to FEMA flood zone, this is another include or exclude, but works slightly different. We've got high risk all the way down to low risk. If I wanted to exclude high risk, tap high risk and then exclude. We can look at mortgage age, cash buyers. Maybe we're looking at the cash buyers. We can look at land use, improvement type, total building square feet. So we'll enter 2,000 to 2,500. So we have 66, and we can go ahead and create labels. We'll go ahead and export. All right, we're going to go up and clear. We're going to go back to the MLS tax suite, simple search page, scroll to the very, very bottom. Now, at the very, very bottom, we have this option for contact us. If you have any questions about the tools and features within the MLS tax suite, you do have our help desk to reach out to. You can either call us if that is your preferred method of communication, or we also have this option for feedback. If you prefer to email us, you fill out a form, send us the information, and we'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions regarding the MLS tax suite. All right, with that being said, I don't see any questions in the chat. So what I'm going to do is thank you guys so, so, so much for joining us for the MLS Tax Suite Introduction to CMAs and Prospecting. And again, if you need us, please make sure you reach out to us. We are here and ready to answer any of your questions. And again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And I hope you have a fantastic day and the rest of your week. This will conclude today's webinar. Thank you guys so much.